everybody! I know you enjoy stories where I'm suffering because you're all very sadistic. So here's a work story. And this story actually, I still have flashbacks about this. I still wake up in the night thinking about this story. I hate it. But I think it's quite a useful story, and I guess it is a little bit funny too. As you know, that I'm a teacher in Japan, and teaching in Japan, people just seem to think of teaching children or teaching one-on-one old people in an eikaiwa or something, but there are so many facets to teaching English. I've taught in university, I've taught seminars, I've taught to whole companies, but one of the things that I really enjoyed doing was teaching camps, and these I feel gained in popularity in maybe the last 5 or 10 years. Basically, you will get shipped off somewhere with a group of people or a group of children, and you'll spend a couple of days with them, and you'll bond with them and you'll teach them English, or they'll just give you a bunch of kids and you've got to take them somewhere, which is very dangerous. And it can be really, really fun. It can be a good learning experience, and it can help children to open up to foreigners, but it can also go really, really wrong. Before I go into the absolute worst experience of my life, I'll tell you about some other camps that I did. I did a really fun one where we used to go to a seaside kind of place with high school students for a few days, and it was amazing. We got to play on the beach, we got to do lots of sports, and that was a science camp, and we can learn a lot about nature and stuff like that. That was really cool. Sometimes I used to do one in Nagano, which was kind of not great because there was a lot of students that were really not interested in English and didn't really want to speak to you. But there was an onsen, so we could just after classes chill out there. That was really cool. One of the worst ones was, I think it was 4 or 5 days, I was in a hotel next to Narita Airport with 10 old men. It was me and 2 other teachers, and we had to stay there with them the whole time and just teach classes, eat with them. It was their company paid for a bonding experience or something, and it was just terrible. This one's even worse than that. This one was actually in 2 parts. First, we would go to Skytree and just take the kids around there, and the other one was in Wenozu. The first one in Skytree wasn't that bad. This was in the height of summer. It was super hot. Skytree was packed with people, and basically it's just all shops. The kids do not have any money, so I had to just ferry these kids around. We spent most of the time in the Pokemon Center, which was bad because they just didn't have any money, and they kept asking me to buy them things, and I can't buy them things. It was just a bad time. And what they had to do was they gave every kid some wooden chopsticks. We had to find foreign people, ask them if they could use chopsticks and if they could show us, and really banal questions about their home country and what they think of Japan. It was horrible because literally no one wants to be approached by random children. I had to really apologize every time we approached someone. A lot of the people we approached weren't very nice. The kids were bored. It was just a bad time. But then I discovered a little hack. There was a park somewhere on one of the mid-level stations of Skytree, and I just took the kids up there and let them run around for 3 hours. And then afterwards, my group that I was given, the kids all had really pink cheeks, and they were really happy, and they were yay, this was the best English camp ever. And everyone else's kids were kind of tired because they just had to walk around interviewing people the whole time, and I felt bad because I essentially cheated, but we all had a good time and we were all talking in English, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, that was part 1. Part 2, oh my god. So we met at Wenozu. I met the other teachers. There was probably 3 other foreign English teachers and a few Japanese staff that were supposed to help us. And there were some newcomer kids, and they said because I handled Skytree so well, I mean, I didn't know that I cheated, because I handled it so well that they were gonna give me more children than the other teachers. And also I could tell they gave me maybe the problem children or kids that were just not very well behaved. So I got a bunch of completely new kids I'd never seen before. It was really hot. We met at 8 a.m. and it was already really, really hot. And when it was packed, we had to wait outside. The parents came and dropped off their kids, and the staff said, okay kids, this is going to be your teacher today. And one boy looked at me and he was like, yada, like no, and then he just like ran into the zoo without his ticket or anything. So I had to run after him, jump over the gates and try and catch this kid. I'm like, I'm gonna lose a child 2 minutes into my job. I'm gonna get fired. Oh my god. And like, he ran, the zoo is huge, and he ran like halfway in, and I managed to grab him and try and bring him back to the entrance. Luckily I managed to get him back without using like too much force, because I'm like, am I allowed to touch this kid? Like, I don't want him to get lost, but like I managed to wrangle him back. And he was scolded a little bit by the Japanese staff, but not really that much. And then we got our tickets and we went inside. I was really shocked because usually I'm really, really good with children. I've never had a problem like this before. But this kid was adamant that he didn't like me because he wanted a male teacher and he got a female teacher. So he was just arguing with me the whole time. He wouldn't do anything that I asked him to do. And just being just awful. Like, he wasn't eating his lunch. He kept running off. It was just a bad time. And the kids really, really wanted to see the panda. The panda just had a baby. It's called Shan Shan. And it's still very popular in Japan. And they really, really wanted to see the panda. Like, the whole point of us doing this trip was to see this goddamn baby panda. And like, we finally, like, there were so many people. It was packed. And I had to string 10 kids along. We finally get to this panda, and he's all the way at the back of the enclosure, like asleep, like this. And then like his baby is behind him, and we stood there for like 30 minutes waiting for this panda to move, and he wouldn't. And the kids started to get really upset because they couldn't see the panda, and they're like, please, and we want to see the panda, like, please make the panda move. I'm like, I can't make the panda, I'm not a zookeeper. And just like everything that could go wrong just went wrong. I took them to see the monkeys, and the monkeys were all having like really aggressive, dirty sex and pissing on each other. I took them to see the kangaroos, and they were like lying on the ground and scratching their balls. And the kids are like, Sensei, what's the kangaroo doing? Why is he doing that? I'm like, God damn it, like I really wasn't paid enough for this. Then the kids started to have a good time. And then they kind of forgot about the panda. And then the worst kid that ran away at the start, he wanted to be a bit cheeky, and I heard him. He told the other kids, you know what would be really funny? It would be really funny if we ran away from our teacher. So the whole last part of the camp, they were just trying to like run from me and hide from me because they thought it was really, really funny. So eventually I made them all hold hands, and we were holding hands in like a line and going everywhere like a snake, like it was a game, which worked for a while. And then this little girl thought that it would be cute to hide from me in like, there was like a playground, and she hid in a slide, and I didn't even notice her hide behind the slide. It was like a second and she was gone. And we moved to the next area. I was counting the kids at every point, but at this point I think it was like she waited till I counted them, and then she hid in the slide. And then we got to the next area and she wasn't there. And I'm like, I can't find her. We had Japanese staff that were supposed to be helping us, but they were mostly just like sticking together and chatting. And we couldn't find her anywhere. I left my kids with the Japanese staff, and I was running everywhere trying to find her. I couldn't find her. So the staff said they would try and find her, and I just continued. And after that happened, after one of them was lost, the kids were a lot more mellow, because they were like, oh, actually, that's really dangerous. Like, what if we disappear and never come back? So after that, it was kind of like fine. We saw a few more animals. It started to be more like sunset, so more of the animals started to come out. We had a good time. We had to fill out these booklets, which is always a pain in the ass because the kids don't want to do them, but we have to make the kids do them. But yeah, we got everything done, and we had another snack time, and then we were sitting outside just eating our like cut fruit, and they found the girl that ran away, and she was crying her eyes out, and then she was saying, that teacher left me. She doesn't like me. She hates me, and she left me, and I was all by myself. And it was just, oh my god. And the staff were really, really mad at me. They were like, how could you lose a child? I'm like, I have 10 children trying to run away from me. And I don't know, she just hid for like a second. Like, we were in Wenozu on a weekend in like the most densely populated time, and I honestly don't know what happened. Then my foreign boss at that time was angry at me. The other teachers were like, oh, thank god I didn't get your kid. And it was just like a bad time. I think actually one of the other teachers also lost a kid, and that was like a whole thing. So it was just a terribly exhausting day. It was just honestly awful. So we waited till the parents come and picked up their kids, and they were like, oh, how was my kid today? And I'm like, of course, a perfect angel. I mean, of course you gotta lie like that. Then yeah, they left, and I don't know, I went straight to the toilet. There was like public toilets in the Winter Park, and I just went in there and I just cried for like 30 minutes. I just cried. It was just so traumatizing. The idea of losing someone's child, the fact that the kids just weren't listening to me, I felt so powerless. This is the first time that's ever happened to me, and it was just terrible. And that is the last time I ever did an English camp. And even now I get offers for them. I think I got one like a week after that for just to go to a camp like somewhere in the Japanese countryside. And I'm never ever doing that again. Never be in like complete responsibility of someone's child in like a place where you're not familiar and they're not familiar. It's just honestly a bad time, and it's just not worth it. Oh yeah, after everything was done and we said goodbye, my kids all run up to me, even the boy that ran away and the girl that was lost, and hugged me, and they're like, thank you, sensei, today was the best, I had such a good time. And they left, and I was honestly just traumatized and tired, and honestly it was just the worst. Like, I think it's just people often take teachers for granted, but we have so much responsibility. Like, luckily where I'm working now, like, keeping kids in a school is so much easier when there's already like rules set in place, and like there's a lot of staff to help you. But like, even now, if there's an earthquake, I have like a protocol I have to follow and make sure that I get the kids outside and make sure that they have their little hard hats on and stuff like that. It is a lot of responsibility, and that's probably the hardest part of being a teacher personally for me, is that if I ever hurt or lost a kid in my care, that would just be the worst possible thing ever. And this is almost what happened that day. Oh my god, can you imagine if they never found that girl? I don't know what I would have done. So yeah, thank you for watching this terrible story. Let me know if anything like this has happened to you. I hope that it hasn't, but like, yeah, thank you for watching. Please subscribe.